So hey everybody, we're here in the shop at Showtime Motorsports, and a lot of people, ask, hey, what do you do during the week? What's your real job and that type of thing? And for me, I wear a lot of hats around here, but I'm an expert at none of them. But one of the things that we have here is we just got a new Kawasaki Z1 in. It's a 1973 model, so it's the first year that they made the Z1. It came all the way from Edmonton, Canada, so it's been on a pallet for several weeks and came across the border, and I'm really thrilled with it. The previous owner restored this bike and it's absolutely stunning, but we have to do some reassembling here off the pallet. We had to put the bodywork on, the tank on, still have to put the mirrors on, and we're getting it ready to start. So it's going to be pretty cool. The motor really only has just a few minutes on it. It's a brand new engine built by a Z1 expert down in Orlando. So I can't wait to get it running and to hear what it sounds like. And it's always pretty cool when you start up a brand new bike that's new to us in the shop, and we can hear it run and really get it ready to ride, and that's what we do. One of the things that we're doing here at our shop is we're doing restorations of motorcycles. Not only car restorations, but we like to work on bikes too. And what we have here is our 1970 Honda 754. And it's a pretty nice bike, but when you think about it, it's 47 years old, and a lot of things have to be done to these things to make them right, to make them look brand new like they did back in the day. So this thing came into our shop and it looked pretty nice, but when you really start looking at it, it had some problems with it. The tank was really rusty, the gasoline in it was horrible. It smelled like turpentine or paint stripper. So it had been sitting in there for several years and really rusting the tank out. So we had to get that thing apart and take the rust out of it and make sure when it goes back on the bike that it's going to work properly. And unfortunately, the gasoline leaked out of the petcock and all over the engine. And it's a shame because this engine had been painted with clear over it. And so you've got this yellowish old gasoline stain all over this brand new engine. So, it really sucks because now we've got to take the engine out and get that all redone. It runs fine, but cosmetically it sucks, and we just can't have that when we finish with this bike. And for these early bikes, the 69 and 70 K0s is what we call them. It was plastic, it was a Lexan face, so they weren't really durable, and they hazed and they weren't very good. They changed them for K1 in 1971 and went to a glass face, and it was more durable and looked better. But the faces of these gauges are sun bleached out and faded, so we're going to put new faces on them. We're not going to change the gauges, nothing is wrong with those, but we're going to take them apart and put the faces back on. We want to keep the mileage on the gauges as well. But you also, they call them jewels in here, and you've got your turn signal light that flashes on. We're going to replace all those. The oil pressure light as well. If it had low oil pressure, that would come on. So, and your neutral light, and high beam, that type of thing. So that'll all be replaced so it looks brand new. One of the things that we're doing on this K0 is we're changing out the wiring harness, and really most of the wiring is pretty nasty and gross. You can see the old wiring harness here. All the plastic that covers the wires is split and breaking apart, and you could tell that whoever owned it before had some electrical tape and tried to repair that kind of thing, and it's just nasty. And you can see the old electrical connectors are all grody and faded and yellowed, and it just looks ancient, all the connectors that the bullet connectors here are dirty and filthy, and you can clean it up if you want and try and make it look nice, but you know what? We're just going to put a new one on it, and we get a new one from Honda. It's a new old stock, and it comes from Japan. And you can look at the connectors and they're brand new. And that's really our goal when we do the restorations here. We want somebody who's looking at the bikes in our collection to go, wow, man, this thing looks brand new. That's the response that we want when someone comes to visit. Every now and then you buy a bike that you go, wow, this thing is done, you don't even have to touch it, and it's just perfect. And one of those that we have here is our new addition, our Suzuki GS 1100. It's a 1981, and it is absolutely pristine. It is just beautiful, and it starts just with a touch of the start button. The guy that owned this bike had a great collection, and he really did a great restoration on this bike, and we really scored. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for something that we can add to our collection right away and just enjoy it. We don't have to strip it down to bare nothing and make it ours. And this Suzuki's one of them. The next bike here, we've got our 1968 Triumph TR6, and this has had a great restoration. We picked this up at Mecum when we were there in January this year, and it is absolutely stunning and beautiful. And you know, it gives you a good example of what people were riding back in the late 60s. Triumphs were the bike to have. BSA was the bike to have. It was before the onslaught of the Japanese motorcycle revolution. And so this is a nice last gasp of performance and what people were riding and having fun with. The next thing that we have here is our 1980 Honda CBX. I just absolutely love this bike, 6-cylinder. You know, Honda really upped the ante. You know, they really revolutionized the sport bike community, really created the sport bike community when they introduced their Honda 754. You know, it was an inline 4, and it just blew people away. And it really gave a new word to performance when it came to motorcycles. Up until then, you had twins, you know, 650 twins, that type of thing from England. Nortons were 750s, and they were considered like the fastest bike out there. But Honda, with their 754, introduced performance into the sport bike and defined the sport bike market, and they're really cool. Kawasaki came along a short while after that with their Z1 and kind of upped the ante, and they were the fastest sport bike on the market in the mid-70s, 73, 74, 75. And in order to make a comeback at them, Honda developed the CBX. And they only built these things for, I think 3 years, 79, 80, 81. And with their 6-cylinder, and they took over the throne of the fastest sport bike out there. You know, the Suzuki was one of them as well with their GSs, double overhead cam motorcycle. They took over the throne from the Kawasaki, but then Honda came in here with their CBX and knocked everybody's tail in the dirt. So anyway, I think that's just a cool bike. It sounds like a Formula Atlantic car when it's running down the road. You know, one of the things that I like also is Honda made their 4-cylinder bikes, and they didn't just make a 750, they made a 504. They also made a 354, and we've got a great example of a 354 here. It's a little baby brother here next to our two 750s. We also have a 504 in our collection that we're going to restore. It runs great, it's a great rider, but it's not ready for prime time, you know, on our floor here. And we'll take that down and do a nut and bolt restoration on it and get everything cleaned up and beautiful and make it look like it was brand new, like it came from the factory. Here's one of our bikes that we've restored recently. It's our 1973 Honda 754, and this olive green is just stunning and beautiful. We just love this bike. And you know, it's just one of the examples of how we like to take things and do things. You know, the seat looks brand new, the tank and paint job is brand new, all the chrome is shiny and bright, thing runs great. And it really is something to be proud of when we have guests into our shop here we can really show off our bikes and kind of the work that we've done. One of the things that we like to do is we like to run these bikes, you know, just about every day. We like to start up and warm them up. So, hey, let's start it up and see how it sounds. Clear. All right, you know, I thought this is a pretty cool shot here. You know, we've got our black Z28 and with red stripes on it, and we also have our black Evo with red seats and red accents all over it. So I think it's a pretty cool look. You know, you got the big bad Z28 and then a little baby Evo next to it, and they kind of look like stepbrothers out here in the shop sitting side by side. And we're just kind of waiting for the next race to come along. We've got a week before Midwest Musclecar up in Indianapolis, and Terre Haute will run at Putnam Park on Friday. And then we'll pick up and the whole tribe will move down to Terre Haute and we'll run an autocross there. So it's kind of a nice, fun, laid-back event. Great charity that Mark Bowler's putting on, and Bowler Transmissions. So we are a sponsor of the event, and we're really happy to be associated with it. They're a class act, and we like to race there. We like to see all our friends that we race with as well. A lot of people that are out there on the Optima series will be at this event. But also, you know, Putnam's got a new surface that they've laid down, and from what I hear, lap times have been tumbling, and so the track's a lot faster than it has been. So I'm curious to see how our cars are going to do. The black car will not be there. Our new Corvette will not be there. It's not done yet. As I've said before in the past, it's getting the full Elvis treatment from Rick Bottom, who's building the car. And we're building it as an Optima car. We want to run our C5 in the Optima series here and there. And also, you know, at events like Midwest Musclecar. But in order for it to be successful in Optima, not only does it have to be mechanically sound and competitive, it also has to be competitive in design and engineering. So Rick is really doing a number on that car. And we're waiting, Rick, we're waiting. We want that car to be perfect. But, you know, it's great having a collection like we do of not only classic cars that are fully restored and numbers matching, or pro touring cars that are fully ready to go, but we also have race cars that we've raced over the years, and we have those at our disposal. So the black car is not ready for Midwest Muscle. And like I said, the Vet isn't ready, so what do we got to do? We're going to go run our white Z28 that we've been using as our track car, our practice car. It's got a stock LS7 engine under the hood. But you know what? To pump up the volume a little bit more, we're going to install a head and cam package on that car this weekend. Get it on the Showtime dyno, get a real nice tune on it, and then we'll take that to Midwest Muscle and we'll see how fast that car can go.